Okay, and here we go. You ready?
Okay.
All right. Hello, world, and welcome to the last page with D.Moss, the place where stories unfold, legends breathe, and the last chapter is often the most powerful. I am your host, D.Moss, and tonight we turn the page to a woman whose voice commands attention and whose journey is stitched with soul, resilience, and reinvention. From Monroe, Louisiana, we have, wait a minute, to the stages of Chicago. From backup vocals for Diana Ross and Patti LaBelle to Billboard-charting solo work. Tonight's guest has sung tributes to the greats because she is one. With her new album, More Than a Woman, she reminds us that timeless artistry doesn't chase trends, it creates them. Singer, songwriter, producer, philanthropist, Miss Terisa Griffin has done it all and is still doing it with grace, soul, and fire. We're honored to have her with us tonight for a conversation that promises insight, inspiration, and a few unforgettable notes. Welcome to the last page.
Hi.
Hey!
Oh, I'm so glad to be here, D.
Ooh, did I get my intro right? Did I get you?
You not only did you get it right, you gave me some things to hope for and to continue to reach for. So thank you. It was quite kind.
There you go. You deserve all of it. Let's see. Now, your musical journey goes from Louisiana all the way to Chicago. You were born in Louisiana, but made a name for yourself in Chicago. Tell me, how both places shaped your sound and soul as an artist?
Oh wow. So I will honestly tell you that Louisiana gave me all of my roots, like all of my roots. It gave me my training because I was um, grew up in the church, classically trained, um, had the advantage of having a major person shape me and. In, as far as classical was concerned, Louis Neighbors, let me just say his name, God rest his soul. But he
Okay.
was the most distinguished opera singer, and he had this really amazing baritone voice, and he was very stellar. He used to unfold to get out of this Porsche that he had. So in college, to see a black man getting out of a Porsche, that gave you a lot of hope and dream, because you'd be like, I want to be great like him, to even
Yep.
see that it was possible to have something on that level. And then say, you're so great that even when you're not on tour, we took us, he just took us to another level with our interdenominational gospel choir, teaching us that you can have gospel roots and then still you don't have to run all over the church and holler and shout. You can sing with class, keep it
Mm.
together. He used to say, God can hear you. And then, and that was my Louisiana. And my dad, being a minister and having my sisters sing with me, that tight harmony. And then coming to Chicago and learning there's a whole nother side to music.
Hmm.
And I needed to learn so much more R&B. I needed to learn because I grew up with jazz. I grew up with a little bit of R&B, but heavy gospel. So to be able to come to Chicago and like, oh, I need to get on it. I need to get on it because they have some of the top musicians. People come to Chicago to hire their musicians to travel with their bands. And
Mm.
so I got with a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer really early, Bernie Mac, as a mentor, going on tour with him. Chicago changed my life in a whole nother way.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot,
So,
right?
you're a preacher's kid.
I'm a preacher. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Hey, give the Lord some praise right now. Yes.
Well, as a fellow PK, it's a pleasure.
Hey,
I'm a
brother.
preacher.
How you
I'm a
doing?
preacher's kid too. Listen, man, whole entire life, like, can I go to a party? No, we going to church. Okay.
Okay, revival, Bible study. Ooh, they could fill your whole life up for Sunday service, usher board. Everybody got a
There
board.
it is.
Okay, everything is going on.
Listen, man.
Oh my
I
God,
remember being in high
hallelujah.
school. People like, well, when are your days off? When do you not? What days do you go to church? I'm like, this is the day we don't go.
Right. There's
From
no day off
Jesus?
from Jesus.
Man, listen, if there was no church service, we had Bible class in the house. I'm sorry, I had to digress for a minute. I'm like, yes, a fellow preacher's kid. Yes.
Look, that's not even a diversion. That's not even a digress. That's just a
Right.
connection. And it's and it explains how you are, who you are, and how you deal with people if you took God as seriously as we are
Absolutely.
supposed to.
Absolutely. Whew. I like that. All right, now we get back to the music. Let's see. Growing up in a musically rich environment, when did you realize that your voice was something truly special? Like, when did it hit you? Like, wow, I'm
Mm.
blessed. When did it hit you?
I was 5 years old, and my dad called my sister up to sing, and I just knew that I could sing as well as
Okay.
she did. It wasn't competitive. I just wanted him to know that I could. And after that, I don't know if I ever thought that my voice was so much better than anyone else, but I knew that I wanted the world to know my voice. I wanted to entertain the world. For some reason, I just knew I wanted to
Wow.
do that.
Okay.
I can't even explain it. You know, you just something inside of you won't let you, it won't
Right.
let you go. It just keeps nagging at you. And no matter what else you do, musicians have an inner
Okay.
weakness for music. And we'll do anything. You know, we don't talk about it a lot, but it's something about that heavenly choir when God gives you that responsibility, gives you that talent. But it also has something that always want to do it no matter what. No matter what.
Right. As my mom would say, everybody has a calling and a purpose. And if your ministry is music and the
Mhm.
soul music, oh, it's gonna find its way to the top some type of way. It's cool. You
Every
found it up
time
high.
it will find its way. You just
Yep.
can't help it. You know, it's, like some people say when you're called, when you're taught that everybody's not called to be a minister, so you don't need to follow everybody. When you really have been called to do this, no matter what, God will bless you so that you can do it.
Right.
The question want to listen because there are parameters as to what you should and how you should and which way you want to do this. You got to follow that road or otherwise you'll be miserable trying to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Woo. Next question. Now, Chicago has a strong legacy of soul, gospel, blues. What
Yeah.
influence did the city have on your artistic evolution and stage presence? Like you said, everybody goes to Chicago. And if you have a love and a passion for music, and Chicago doesn't figure in that formula somewhere, it's like, so while you're there, tell me
Mhm.
about the impact that it had. Once you got there, man, tell me about the different influences. For those of us who can't sing.
So uh early on I needed a gig, and this organization, CAMS Music Association, which it was Chicago songwriters, composers, music association. I know I got all those, I've twined them, but anyway, that was the first time that I was able to sing in front of a major artist, and I was so green that I did not realize that Jerry Butler was alive. um I
Wow.
had seen him in Time magazine stuff where it was like, he don't love you like I love you. And I'm like, oh, well, they was like, well, Teresa, that we're paying tribute to him. So if you come, when they said tribute, I thought he was dead. I didn't know he was alive. So they was like, and I was like, oh, okay then. So I'm singing his song For Your Precious Love. I remember learning it over and hearing it over and over and over again in my car in front of Farrakhan's house because I was homeless. And I was like, I gotta learn this song. So I'm processing what this man had been thinking. Now, this man was from Sunflower, Mississippi, but they migrated here and they grew up in Cabrini Green, which was an infamous, it eventually
Mm,
became an infamous housing project. But at the time when they moved in there, it wasn't the worst place to live because people had more, they were more concerned about the fact that they lived in Cabrini Green. They had a different respect for what they had, and what was going on, so during that time, he talked about meeting Curtis and all of this other stuff, Curtis Mayfield. And I'm like, he alive. Look, he alive. And the manager out and said, you know, you want after I sang this gig, and I was like, that's a job, right? And he said, yeah, and he was like, well, Mr. Like he alive. And so I was like, yes, I'll take that gig. And on this ship with a rock and roll Hall of Famer, this icon, God took care of me because I learned that you don't sign a contract that gives away 50% of your publishing.
Mm,
You're not desperate, you know, to do this, that you lose your future children, because that's what your songs are. They're your children that take care of you. They're your insurance. You're not that desperate to be angry. So you need to have a life. And the great thing is I went to college. So his sister had a not-for-profit and she was a singer. She sang, his brother played guitar with him. He wrote I Stand Accused for Isaac Hayes. I had
oh
all of
my
these,
God.
yeah, Billy Butler. And I'm on the road meeting timeless artists, you know, 20 years old, don't have it on, but I'm being paid to learn how to do this. And I remember walking up to the microphone the first time and supposed to sing his song, Ain't Understanding Mellow. Didn't know I was supposed to be singing the lead because didn't nobody tell me. And his sister's like, it's your turn. I said, dude, what? What is my turn to do? She said, girl, this the lead part. Well, I remember how the song went. I knew all the backgrounds. I just didn't know the lead words. And at this event, they're honoring Lou Rawls and they're about to build this Lou Rawls thing. So Lou Rawls is there. And oh my God. And I'm like, Jesus. So the first thing she said, the first note, you know, is a long note. You hold it. Oh. And I said, okay. So I walk up there and he sees my face, but he read
Right,
it.
right,
This is a
right.
professional. He read it. And I was like, oh, thank God for you. I don't know the words. He said, there's a man. I say, there's a
Ah,
man. He said, who understands? I said, who understands? He said, how very hard it is. I said, how very hard it is. So I'm repeating these words behind him. And he says, Teresa, as long as you want a job with me after this, he says, you have a gig, you have a job. And I learned so much. I learned to stop shouting at the
okay.
band. I learned to control the audience differently, not be up this shh, shh, shh. He says, step away from the mic. One day, you know, after he saw me performing, he says, when people are louder than you, step away from the mic and keep singing. It forces them to listen to
Mm,
you. And you can stop saying, I ain't gonna be up here competing with y'all. Yeah, he said, just step away and keep singing with your beautiful.
right,
And
right.
you train the audience to be who you want and need them to be. Um,
Wow.
sorry, that was a long explanation, but
No,
that's
no,
what
that was
Chicago music and how, you know, it has enriched my life.
that was perfect. The crazy part is on my end, you kind of went out for a couple of minutes, and I'm like, no, I need to hear this. But and I was gonna say, for all the upstart artists out there, she just dropped a jewel. You just dropped a huge jewel. Like I'm a poet. I do the spoken word and everything. And it's like I learned, and my mom told me before she transitioned, she said, listen, you ain't gotta say she came to see me perform one time. And folks are like, yo, respect the mic. And she was like, well, you don't have to tell anybody to respect the mic if you do your craft well. She said, instead of screaming on top of them, she said the same thing. She said, walk away from the mic and just recite your poem and let them shh to see what's going on. And you just, I mean,
Yes.
for singers, oh my God, you just, I feel like I should send you a check for that one. Go for it. Okay.
I hope they heard me. I hope
I,
it. I hope it. I hope we didn't. You know. I hope it didn't go out. But you know that is the advantage of a paid internship. No matter who you are, when you are working with somebody who is paying you, who has more knowledge than you, that is a paid internship. It
mm,
gives you money for your bills, but you are getting paid to learn at the same time. And I am so grateful that I had that in him, his entire camp, his management, you know, everyone around me protected me and they schooled me. And if I paid attention, then I knew. Even working that brief moment with Diana Ross on the Oprah show, I saw how she spoke to her people. She whispered She wasn't like, so and so, come here. She whispered,
Right.
and I was like, that's class. She ain't gonna let nobody see her come out of her character.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I hope I can learn that restraint. It's a paid internship that I've had in my life, and I'm so beyond grateful.
That's amazing. That's an amazing. Now I'm waiting for the book. When the book comes out, you got you. You done pulled me in. You're like a storyteller, a griot, talking about something, and I'm listening. Like, oh my God! First of all, the folks that you traveled and performed with, I stand accused. Billy Butler. What?
Oh yeah. And Billy would so he gave me a piano that I don't have anymore, but he gave me a piano and I kept it for years. When I tell you the bottom of it, the sustain pedal and all the stuff just fell apart. And I kept it because it was something that he gave me. But
Right.
he's like, I know you know where middle C is, but let's talk about the black keys on the piano and what that does and how it has character, for you. Because that, classically, when you're being taught, you're taught a lot of things, but when someone talks about the character of the black keys, something that people don't really understand or appreciate sometimes, it's because it does bring a different color. It might bring a darkness, but it's a richness that it brings, that it changes. And I was like, wow, he strummed the guitar upward because he learned from Curtis. Curtis Mayfield, to strum
Yep.
the guitar upward, it gave a different sound. And so when I would hear him play boo doo 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 doom 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 doom, I need to belong to someone, I'd be
Mm.
like, oh my God, what did he just do to that guitar? What did he
Wow.
just do? So all of that, you can't slight it when you're learning that. When Bernie Mac says, baby girl, don't overdo it. Just give them what you got and be you. Be
Yeah.
authentically you. Stop apologizing for who you are. This is who you are. Stay that course. It doesn't matter if they say you're difficult to deal with. You're not difficult. You're educated enough to know what you
Right.
want. And that encouragement, those jewels that he dropped, to say Bernie Mac was the director of my first video, Wonderful, and he had done oceans and stuff, and he flew back. He was already into that, and he had flew back, and he says, I'm gonna direct this because I like this song. This song ain't nasty, it ain't disrespectful, because that's who he was, and he wanted my video to reflect who I was, not what somebody else thought I should be. He was like, them your cleavage. People upset about your cleavage, baby. You can't hide your cleavage. This your cleavage. Go on and do what you got to do, baby girl. This you be you. And I loved, having people who taught
Right.
me that I could be me unapologetically.
Clarification. We're not talking Bernie Mac. I'm slow too. Sometimes I'm slow. We're not talking Bernie Mac, the
The
comedian.
comedian. Who you with?
Huh? Yeah, we're not talking about him. That Bernie Mac.
Yes. That Bernie Mac.
Okay, you see the expression on my face. I'm trying to keep my cool so people ain't gonna start watching this and be like, what is wrong with him? Look, man, I got goosebumps. You killing me right now. Wow.
I love him. I love
Wow.
his family. His daughter Janice and I are still friends. I did a Wonderful Woman conference last year. It was a year before last, and she came and hosted. Like literally, Bernie was like, "You're in Chicago. I don't want you to spend Christmas by
Wow.
yourself. If you can't afford to go home, you let us know. I'll either send you, or if you're going to stay here because you got work afterwards, come by." Included me in his family. He always encouraged me. The minute he saw me on Oprah with Diana, he was like, baby girl." Like, Bernie, he said, with us it's harder. People gonna be like, this is it. He said, these are all small steps. Don't get disappointed when because some don't take off the way you think. He said, this is a tortoise race. You take your time and you run
Wow.
it the way that you should run. Don't compare, look around, none of that. Because when you really think about it, he died literally when he had was hitting the
Yeah.
pinnacle, or part of in his career, where he finally, the world was knowing who he was, and we knew who he was, but the world accepting how his
Right.
greatness. And so he was just in his 50s. He was early
Yeah.
50s, and to have lost him then was traumatic for me, definitely traumatic for his family, traumatic for Chicago, but when you've gone on the road with somebody who loves you, uh, for who you are and never get out of pocket with you. When he said who you with, I would be hollering, I'm with Bernie, because I'm with him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, you got to write that book at some point, okay? I'm be waiting on that. Woo, I'm gonna move over
Okay.
to the voice. Good Lord, I could stay in that pocket right there for another hour just to hear the stories. That's amazing. That's incredible. That's
Man.
incredible. Let's see. The Voice and mainstream recognition. Many remember your unforgettable performance on The Voice. What was that experience
Mm.
like, and how did it impact your career moving forward?
Wow, I can say emphatically I did not want to do it. But my husband, who wasn't my husband at the
Hmm.
time, um, he said, Teresa, I believe you should do this. I know you don't want to do a competition. I kept saying this will set me back. And then my husband is a trademark, copyright, patent, attorney, and he brands. That's his job. That's what he does. It's about branding. And he said, do this because you can't pay for the publicity that you will get
Mm,
when people hear you on The Voice. Those people, will hear you. And whatever it is, we'll figure it out after that. And he has kept his promise. God didn't let me miss a dollar. Whatever dollars I missed, it was, in divine order. I learned what I learned on that show is that you always need to be able to market yourself. You need to be ready to market yourself. So when people go on these shows, they say, what advice do you give? I give them to get a publicist first if they get on the show.
mm,
That publicist can work it for you. I did not have that publicist, but I had God. They had publicists, but those publicists weren't necessarily really pushing Teresa. They're pushing The
right.
Voice. And so I have learned, that I'll tell you how important it was. That was in 2012. I went to a spa in Sedona in February, and there was a little cute vanilla chick. And I was resting and I would be in and out. I'd keep late hours, because I don't sleep well. And as I was checking out, she said, I didn't want to bother you, but are you Mama T? Are you Teresa from The Voice? I was I looked at her, I was like, yes. And she says, I did not want to bother you. The sweetest,
Wow.
when I say she was so sweet. And she said, I hope you had a great stay because I really wanted to make sure that you enjoyed yourself. So you don't know who's watching you.
Mhm.
You don't know whose life you touched. You don't know. You never process how huge that is. And in that moment, God said, I told you. I told you, and I was like, okay, Lord, whatever you say, I've learned not to, my arms are too short to box with God. So whatever you say, Lord, I am literally, I am listening. I am listening to you. And so, believe it or not, I've got one smaller than this, but this is the biggest baby. So like literally, I, I am beyond grateful that I went ahead and I went
Right.
on the show because the fans and those younger people, huh, when I had a spiral fracture of the fibula, and people were saying you should have sued the show. I said, you know what? I know when to
Mm,
walk away. And they asked me, if you lose, who do you want to lose to? I said, well, now y'all ask me that every time I go up. So now I'm gonna tell y'all who I want to lose to because I'm ready to go home. I'm getting married in a month or really like a month and a half, and y'all messing up my wedding. So I need to hurry up and get out of here anyway. I don't have no hard feelings. I'm out of here. No more cheap shoes for Teresa. I don't wear Payless. I don't know where y'all got those shoes from. Y'all done messed up my look. Let me get out of here. I love y'all. And the attorney for the show even came and says, it's been a joy to have you. I'm like, I know y'all ready for me to go because my I was like, I need a room by myself. Y'all can't keep putting me in a room with these kids. These children think they can sit on my pillow. Y'all keep talking about my age. So y'all look, get these children out of my room. And then they would still end up in my room hanging out with me. And I loved it. So I miss all of them. Trevin, all of y'all, I miss y'all babies.
that's beautiful. Yeah, you said a piece. When you're performing, you don't know who you're impacting. It goes back to the earlier part of our conversation in terms of purpose and who you're ministering to through
Hmm.
your music. It's kind of like Sometimes if you just close your eyes and you follow the whisper and just pay attention and follow directions, it'll get you everywhere you need to go. So I just had to point that out. I'm still my mama's son, so you said something. I just had to point it out.
Hey, stay
I had to
there.
point it out. Like that's so people don't really get that. It's like you have a gift. Don't question it. Just use it. Don't worry about where you got to use it at. Just use it and see what happens. So
Come on.
that's
Just
yeah,
use it.
man. You got a story to tell. I can't wait to read your book. I'm gonna keep saying that all throughout this conversation. You know that.
You know, my husband has been saying, Teresa, you need to
Yep.
write a book. You need to
Yep.
write a book. And I'm like, I want to make sure when I tell my story that I have permission to include someone
Okay.
else's. That's the biggest thing, about, because there's a reason why I am the way that
Okay.
I am. You know, there is a reason, you know, to this entire season. But there's some people I have to call out, and somebody might be upset about it, and I've got to reserve in myself when I tell it
Understood.
to make sure that I'm okay with telling who that person was with me. Doesn't necessarily mean that they were that way with other people, but with me they could have been better.
Absolutely.
But I do have a huge story to tell, and I hope that when I tell it, it helps
Okay.
someone.
Well, you're
So
gonna know when it's time to tell that story. Woo. So let me ask,
soon.
because from what you said so far in the last 26 minutes, you've already sold me. I'm just like, I would love to read the book. And sometimes the story of your life, you think it's about you, and it's really for some other person that God is guiding who needs to hear that story. So that's how I look at it
Oh
anyway. But
yeah.
woo,
No, I agree. When I I didn't somebody stole I got the last chapter of I had read Phyllis Hyman's book on the way to South Africa. And when I was at the last two chapters, and somebody at the club in South Africa stole my book. But I also think that the Lord said, stop it. That's not your
mm-hmm,
life. There are similarities of things that have happened. Um, but because you live with depression and you've battled it and you battle it, and I've never left you alone, I don't need you to read anymore, because we know how it ends. You've read enough to understand that nothing can win over you, that this battle is not yours, it's mine. And so I understood that, but I needed to digest what she went through. I needed to understand someone with such awesome talent, such that I admired, that I loved. I wanted to understand. And what I got is, yes, this is a business, but this is a business. It is a business. And the minute you lose sight of that, the minute you let it be more than what it is, because my voice is
mm-hmm,
mine, but I'm running a business. And as I run it, I'm not trying to lose my house. I'm not trying to lose my dignity. I'm not trying to lose. I need to hold on to me, and I need to run it as a business. So even with my band members, I take care of them, but this is a
mm-hmm.
business. So don't lie to me. And you gonna be late. You tell me. Don't have me sitting up at that club waiting, thinking that'll drive me crazy. Don't make me cuss you out. This is
Yeah.
a business. And don't be saying, oh, she talked to me all rough, and how she talked to you. Did you tell everybody that you was an hour late? Did you think I was gonna hug you when you showed
Right.
up? So it's all of that, and I learned a lot of that also reading other musicians'
Okay.
biographies, and it was powerful. I'm
No, don't
sorry.
apologize. This is all like, man, listen. There are so many people out there who want to either get into the industry or get into entertainment. These are things they really need to hear. It's not as simple as 1+1 = 2. It's not just business. As Jay-Z said, you are a business man. It's like your voice is your business. You are your business. So it's kind
Yep.
of like you can't play with that. So,
Hmm.
and as your husband would tell you, you are your own brand. Don't
All
mess
day
with your
long.
brand.
Once I grasped that, I even handled
Yeah.
it different. Somebody was like the other day was like, you different now. I said, because you know what? I also grasped that I am a
Yeah.
brand. And all that I do, all the things, he said, you minimize what you've accomplished. And he's like, and you need to stop that, because you are a brand, and understand it's okay for you to tell people, no, I don't want that to look that way, because it reflects who you are, and how it looks
Right.
for you. So don't apologize for demanding that your brand be what it
Absolutely.
is.
Yo, listen, man. Absolutely. That's all I'm gonna say. Exclamation mark on what he said. Pow. There we go. Woo, yeah, look, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna leave this show with about 10 different jewels. I'm gonna put them on my Facebook post. Like, look, Terisa Griffin said, because that's some deep stuff. So let me ask you: do fans still connect with you because of the voice, and how you balance that chapter with the decades of artistry that came before and after?
Yes, I would say that they connect with me even more now, because I didn't really care about the contracts that I signed. I knew after a certain time that would be null and void about what you can and can't talk about. I didn't want to ruin the experience for somebody else, but we do connect. And we connect in a beautiful way, because I kept being me. I kept putting things out. I did put, you know, projects out afterwards, and I didn't let it defeat me, because a lot of people, when they don't win, mentally they're defeated. But it is a battle after you spent that much time with somebody telling you what to do, when you can go somewhere, what you're supposed to do. My experience with Blake, I'm gonna definitely put it in the book. Um, Michael Bublé. I will never be. I was a fan of his until that show, and there were things that I felt like they could have handled better. I think mentally, anyone that goes on that show needs to. Any of these shows, they need to be strong,
Yeah,
because it's a mind game, and you need to know who you are all the time, all the time.
got you. And I think you said something earlier about the voice in terms of the information, the advice your husband gave you. It was
Oh yeah,
going on the show was a strategic move, taking your brand into
yep,
consideration. So anytime, I tell people, we do festivals, we do showcases, and it's like if you're only performing to get a small paycheck, don't perform. You need to know exactly
leave it alone.
why you're driven to get on that stage and do what you do. Have your own plan. The check should just be a bonus. If I go to speak somewhere, I enjoy speaking, so that's cool. The check is a bonus. The people I impact, the work that I do, and it helps me to sell my other services and products. So it's kind of like you got to have your own plan. So it's kind of like it just makes you stronger. So you went on there, you were prepared. You was like, all right, this is about branding, this is about this. I got to get this done. Them distractions, and it's like you're focused. But if you go on there thinking that going on those types of shows are win or lose, man, you lost already because you putting all your ducks into somebody else's basket, and they
Every last, you just dropped them
yep.
in there and said, y'all go ahead. I mean, I told them, I said, y'all, it's time for me to go, because I don't like these clothes either. I don't know what
I
y'all
love
doing
you
with
right
these
now.
children. Y'all can take these out. I'm like, take them clothes and burn them. I don't want that. I don't want to wear that. I don't know why y'all trying to make me look old with these clothing. And I don't know where y'all found this dress. I know they was like, I said, y'all had me put a collage of what I want to wear together, and then y'all stuck me in this. So I don't know what the heck going on. I know they was like, this woman right here. I'm like, I'm sick of these clothes. Okay. I'm sick of y'all ruining my image. So it was things, that you have to speak up, and so I wasn't upset about
Right,
leaving. It was like, it's time to go. Okay. It's a time for everything. And that was, I needed to get home, and I needed to get back to my
yep.
life. I knew that I needed to follow all of the directives. We were still, even when I was gone, I still had interviews that I needed to do. I still had responsibilities. But after that, it was, look, this is what I did. I went on the show. I did it because they transitioned that year. They used to let you do, when they first started, you could do your original
Mm-hmm.
music. So they didn't tell us until we were already contracted in that we couldn't do our original music. So they changed their format the year that I came on, because that first year people were singing their own music. they could introduce some of that in. And I think that if anyone does a show anymore in that regard, the difference would be let artists who don't normally get that type of platform do their
Yeah.
own music, because that's what was great about The Voice. It was your voice. At the end, I was, it made me see also that when it's time to go, don't fight leaving. Get out. Run. It's okay to say this is over. As the Bible says, there's a time and a season for everything. The season was up. And it served me
Right.
greatly. It served me greatly, and I have used
Hmm.
that, so it was not a
Right.
waste. No, it
And you know what
wasn't.
they say? When something tells you it's time to go, people listen to that. Listen to what she just said. When it's time and you know it's time, man, typically when you stay beyond that time, good things don't tend to happen.
And you're the person that's miserable, because it's
Right.
over with. I have let people work with me too long, and I'd be like, okay, well, I'm trying. And then God
Let me
say,
go.
let them go. You don't even have to fire them because they've already
Yep.
fired themselves. So when they do it, don't hold
Yep.
on. Say bye.
Just say
Say
bye.
bye.
You on the job and you know it. Look, I done been here. Just go. It's time for you to go. There's something else waiting for you.
Because you're not even doing the job or yourself a service at that point. You're doing all of it is a disservice. I checked in a hotel one time and that chick was so horrible at the counter. I said, baby, do you want to be here? She said, this is my last day. I said, you should have took it off. You should have
Hey,
took the day off because you're not serving me now,
the other piece is you miss out on future blessings. You holding on to this, and there's something waiting for you over here, but you
Yes.
holding on to this. You're miserable. Your negative attitude is infectious. Just go get that. There's a blessing waiting for you over there. Go through the door.
Come,
Look,
let's just
it's,
kiss and say
I
goodbye.
love that
You
song.
know?
Woo, okay. Woo. Girl, you sure I ain't related to you? I'm having a good
No,
time. I feel like I'm with family right now. Like, oh, this is just yes. You
preacher
know what I'm
kids.
saying? Like,
Preacher
if you
kids.
know, you know. Man. Hi.
Yes.
Here we go. We mentioned Diana Ross earlier, singing background for her in the Oprah show. I mean, we're talking Diana Ross. We're talking icon. There are legends, and then there are people who just mastered that game so well that they became iconic. And the industry is not an easy game to play or navigate. So you were on stage
Yeah.
performing with Diana Ross. Like, what was that experience like for those of us who never had that opportunity, probably never will, but we get to live vicariously through your experiences? I'm waiting on the book. What was it like with Diana Ross?
Well, I'll tell you, here's two surreal
Okay.
moments. Oprah, I had done Oprah's commercial, Get With the Program. Where can you stop when you want to get started? Get in the know. So I had done this and it was airing in like 13 countries. And so the people who had hired, who she'd hired to do that, called me up and I was at a Tina Turner
Mm-hmm.
concert and they was like, Teresa, you want to come sing backup for Diana because she's going to be coming on the show and we got a rehearsal tomorrow. I was like, I'll be there. So I finished watching Tina and then I hopped in my car and drove from Detroit to Chicago and I called Butch and I said, what's the song? And he said, Only Love Can Conquer All. So I learned the song because I didn't want to go in to this session. These are top session singers, and yes, I'm one of them, but I wanted to be ready because I always knew that I was the underdog going in when it came to the session singers in Chicago. I come on the
Mm-hmm.
scene late and out of nowhere as far as they're concerned. And so I wanted to be prepared. I always want to be prepared. And when she came out and it was time for us to sing the song, I was the only one who started singing the background. So she said, "You the only one who know it? Can you teach them right quick?" And I was like, well, first of all, they don't want to hear nothing from me, but yeah, I could do this. This is what I'm thinking in my head. And I just sang, I said, oh, it's simple. Only love can conquer all. Only love can break down these walls. And so she was really, that's when you're prepared and you
Mm.
get blessed. And so she heard me. And so the next day, and when I say they thought she knew me because she kind of messed with me, she called me Lil Kim. They was like, Teresa, she called me. I said, I don't. She can call me Lil Poo Poo. I don't care. This is
Wow.
Diana Ross. She was like, okay. She was like, stand up there. You know, they were doing the lighting. She said, we're not that far in color. Just go up there and stand up. And I stood there while they was doing the lighting. I'd have stood on top of. Look, if she had told me I'm gonna drop you off on the top of Mount Everest, but I'm coming with you, and we got a house up there and it's gonna be
Okay.
warm, I'd have been in the car. I'm like, well, I'm getting in this airplane because we going. She was just
Wow.
everything to me, and I loved everything about Diana Ross. I don't know who. I mean, she was glamour, and when you grow up watching glamour, um, your mother loving Diana
Yeah.
Ross, a generation of all of us, that's beyond an icon. She done shut down the Met Gala even now. So I'm like, oh my God, I want to get this right. So the next morning, I had a different wig on. She said, I like that wig. I said, thank you. And she said, if I give you the mic, you gonna be ready? I said, yeah. She said, psych. And then I was like, ah. So she's playing with me and I'm playing. I'm not expecting it. And when she turns around and she says, sing, girl, I just could have just jumped up and down, ran around the room, holler, scream, shout. And then Oprah's like, she was like, Teresa, what do you? I'm like, my mom is doing a hallelujah dance because this moment is not something that I could have put together. This is a
Right.
blessing from God, reassuring me that you are where you're
Right.
supposed to be. And I will continue to bless you. I will continue to guide your career. Let me do it. And so when people say, who is your manager?
Right.
Jesus. God is my manager. Okay.
Wow. I'm sorry, that just blew me away. I'm trying to think of my next question. Is it just gone? I'm just
I'm
no, no, no.
sorry. But it
Don't
was a
be sorry.
great,
That was dope. That wow.
it was a great moment. And to say that, who would have thought, because I did an Oprah commercial, because I had done commercials. I had been blessed with Double Mint Gum with Venus and Serena. The Double Mint Twin commercial is what they had. Double your sentiment, your merriment, double your moment of fun, double your delightment. I was like singing commercials. It's like, and I'm looking at Venus and Serena. It's like, I'm this little girl from
Right.
Louisiana. I am from Louisiana. I know how to pick pecans up off when you shake the tree. I'm the pecan. I'm a berry. I know what berries. My dad, was a preacher, and I can look. I can purple hub peas. I'm that
Right.
girl. I'm still that girl. I grow tomatoes in my
Right.
backyard, and God said, "Do what I
Right.
say, do." And you will be blessed. And so, I mean, I was blessed to start my own charity. I give kids Foot Lockers to go
That's
off to
dope.
college. I was like, I want to give back because I grew up knowing what my dad would take food out of our freezer to feed somebody else. I know what giving back is. I know what a village is. I know what that is. We have to be a village. And so, yes, I've been blessed. So to hear my song when you're around me being played on a Stevie Wonder station, on a Chicago station, on a Memphis station, on a Atlanta station, I know what blessings are. I know that you let God guide your career. I know He's navigated and kept me safe. So yeah, I can say
Oh,
hallelujah. I
absolutely.
can shout.
Ooh,
Hmm.
man,
Yeah.
listen, you go from being that girl down the block who go, oh, that's Reverend such and such's daughter. And now you on stage with Diana. You traveling with Bernie Mac. You done travel with Jerry Butler. Patty,
Patti LaBelle, because my sister was singing backup for Patti. She was like, girl, come over here and sing backup. My sisters can sing their butt off. So my sister was singing backup for Patti LaBelle, and that allowed three of us to
uh-uh,
go and sing
uh-uh. Time
backup for
out,
Patti
time out,
LaBelle.
time out, time out. You on stage with Diana, Jerry Butler, traveling with Bernie Mac. Your sister, your sibling, is singing with Patti LaBelle. Man, y'all gotta invite me over for
Yes.
Thanksgiving because I ain't even hungry. I just want to hear y'all sing the prayer around the table before y'all eat. I ain't asking for much.
That's so sweet. And they look so good, which is ridiculous because in December I had them all come to Chicago, and people like, y'all gonna take that on tour? So I'm like, you know what? On some of my southern tour dates, I'm gonna have my sisters come in and perform, and people can hear them
Wow.
as well. I told them, I said, if we ever did a reality show, Jesus would have to come in there and start fanning like he did in the fire. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, baby, hot,
Woo!
hot here.
Woo!
We a hot mess together and all say, but when I say a hot mess, I mean, my mom be like, just move back, let them fight. They'll be finished in a minute. Don't you get in it because they'll beat you up. We are that and then some. And I love to hear them sing. My baby
Mhm.
sister sang with Tina Marie and Mary J. Blige, and my, like, so when I say, and Adrian only sings for Jesus. Okay, so unless Albertina Walker, somebody was calling her, she ain't, she sang for Jesus. She reminds us all the time, only what you do for Christ will last. Hallelujah.
I ain't mad at it. Lord, wow. Yeah, I'm waiting on the book. So you talked about being heard in Chicago stations and Memphis stations and being heard around the country. Let's talk about that new single that's being played around the country. What's it called again? When you're around.
When you're around me, when you're around me. Yes, that's
Talk
my
to me about that
song.
song. What inspired it? What were you thinking? You wrote. I'm assuming that
Mm.
you wrote that. Um, the whole
I did,
process.
with an amazing guy.
Talk to me about the whole entire
I'm sorry.
process, beginning to end. 'Cause I love the song, so let's talk about that.
So during COVID, I decided to start writing my project. The Meyer Foundation also, I didn't qualify for anything during COVID as far as somebody sending me some money. And a foundation here, Helen and Tim Coburn Meyer, they sent me a $40,000 check just in the mail. And I thought it came in an envelope about this big. So I was like, I don't know what, I never opened it. And then they called and said, you okay? And I opened it. I was like, oh my God. They just fold a check and put it in an envelope about this big. It could have got lost. But Jesus said here, because my first the first thing I did a week after everything shut down was I did a live concert with my band and raised like eighteen
Oh
thousand
wow!
dollars. Gave them, split it with them. I wanted them to be okay. I was able, because of my not for profit, to have them qualify for work so I could send them at least $500 each band member a week. And so my concern was that. And then once they sent me, the Meyer Foundation gave me that money, I said, well, let me start working, first let me pay my condo off, and then let me work on this project. And I started working because I use real
Right.
musicians, you know, um, and I called up, well, I call him my baby Similac, who plays drums with me sometimes. His real name is Mike Logan. His dad is this awesome, awesome musician who works with Will Down and Shania Twain. I mean, he works with so many people. And he says, Teresa, your voice is one of the favorite voices I've heard in my life. I love your voice. And of course, that put me in tears. But at the same time, I was like, well, will you take a listen to these backgrounds that I recorded? I want to do a song around it. And I recorded all the backgrounds first, which is crazy. But I sat down and had stacked all of them, and then I sent it to him. His son sent it to him, and I said, "This is what I'm hearing." And I just hummed it. He went and started organizing the music to it. I came in to his house, wrote the lyrics, did it on a microphone, and set it aside, and just kept writing for this project, More Than a Woman. Then I went in and as I produced the um I said, who do you think we should hire for talking to Mike Logan Sr.? Who should we hire to play the bass on this? Who do you hear? Because I wanted to make sure that I nailed it. And when you're a producer, it doesn't mean you do everything. It means you have the knowledge to know who you need to ask and who you need to bring in.
Right.
And so we called Richard Patterson up. We called up different players. I called Ron, who works with Barry Manilow, and said, can you do the strings? And I wanted to make sure that my project had what it needed. And then when I finally finished all of the lyrics, it was because I almost lost my husband during COVID.
Mm.
And one day he passed by me, and he just brushed against me. And I smiled and I said, I fall in love whenever you're around me.
Oh,
And that's where I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. That's where it comes from. So this I wanted my project to be unapologetically about love, but grown love. Grown.
right. Not that we're talking that grown and mature. This is the real deal, uncut. I,
Uncut. Yes.
I can dig it. I'm with you on that. I can dig it. That's a dope story to tell. It's gonna make me appreciate that song even more the next time I play it. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Um, woo, you got me, girl. You got me. Um, Now, with When You're Around Me out now, what can we expect from Terisa Griffin moving forward? Are we looking at another tour, a full album, more visuals? And then my last question, so while you're answering that, I want you to give some background thought to Better Love Yourself, your nonprofit. Cool?
Cool. Wonderful. So what we have now, I went, as I said, I went to Stevie Wonder's station, and as I was blessed to sit down with the program director, he listened to some of my some more of the project. And so the next song that we're coming out with is the song that he actually, we had already remixed it, I should say, with Terry Hunter. And it's called He's Mine. I want him to be mine, so it's really a woman who's fixated on a man. And women do get fixated that way. And we can see the whole future. And as I sat there, I thought about my journey when I was writing it, and I was like, I want him to be mine. When you hear it, my original guitar player that I lost during COVID, um, Greg Landfair, God rest his soul. I I had to make sure that I kept this this eerie line that he could play, because there's something eerie about a person that's fixated on you.
Right.
Now, if you agree with that love, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if that person is doing it and but so this is a woman who really is in love and he's okay with it, okay? But there's a part of it that's like, but you better be careful with this woman, okay?
Right.
Because that line that the band is playing, it's that the male doom 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 doom. I met my love at the beach, you see. My heart stopped when I saw his face.
Hmm.
Never seen anything like him before. My heart stopped it hit the floor. I want him to be mine. Lord, make him mine.
Hmm.
It's that. And so when he heard it, he said, yeah, Teresa. He said, this is your follow-up. And I was like, wow, because the dancers that did it on the video and the remix, they were like, we like the original version as well. It's something about it. So I'm like, all of that just came together. So we're going to shoot the slow version because we already shot the house version because it was a consideration for a Grammy for the remix.
Right.
So we have to go back and shoot this song. And I told him, I said, we've got to have all the visuals, because as when you say a storyteller, my publicist Jonelle says I'm a storyteller. My marketer, Tan, I call her Tangi says you're a storyteller. So
Right.
in this, I want them to see the story, because it's like, he took me to a movie. Denzel was on the movie screen and everything was so sweet. He just, when he touched me, ooh, it's just, I want him to be mine. That whole thing flew me to Washington, D.C. And it's the story really of my relationship. He flew me to Washington, D.C. to see the foliage bloom. All of this happened in this relationship, and I wanted my husband to be mine. We dated for 8 years. Lord, make him mine, okay? And then when I got him, I was like, what you give me this man, Jesus? What? What is going on? Be careful what you pray for and be ready for what you pray for. You know,
Absolutely.
because a lot of times we pray for something and then we get it and we don't know what we got. We don't know how to handle it. And all of that is a part of that song. So at the end, you know, in the song, I'm like, he's mine, mine, mine. He's mine, 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 mine. You know, because he finally mine. Now, what you gonna do with it? Because the next song on the album, you know, now what you gonna do with it? So it's this album, More Than a Woman, tells a story, and it does have some more life in it. We are recording a live storytelling version of it as well. I'm looking for the perfect Moroccan sort of a room. I want pillows and people sitting on them and just kind of relaxing. And I want to do this storytelling so people can see the entire album, you
Right.
know, with the visuals behind it. Uh, like a grown movie. Like this album is the soundtrack to my life right now. And I'm also writing new songs because I woke up in the middle of the night last night writing.
Wow.
Um, the same way I wrote Better Love Yourself. It was a song first because I always tell people if you don't admit that you need help, nobody else will help you.
Absolutely.
Mental wellness is something that people should understand. You know, a lot of times we get into relationships and we're really sick and we don't know that we're ill. We won't come to terms with we're ill. And so you poison everything else around you. And so I'm always making sure that try to stay mentally well, and Better Love Yourself is part of that. You know, I when I wrote the song, these tears I'm tasting, drowning in a sea I cried. See, I'm foolishly waiting for someone else to save my life. You know,
Mm,
these tears I'm tasting, you know, when I say, and a lot of women like, oh my God. So my fans said, you know, this is a powerful song. I said, well, then let me name my organization Better Love Yourself.
love that.
And
Love
and when the kids come to pick up their foot lockers and their trunks, I want to encourage them to understand that they better love themselves. And when they fill out the application, it really is about see yourself in 5 years, see yourself in 10 years. How do you love yourself? I want them to understand that this is something that you have to constantly work on because we are in a world of influence and peer everything. We tend to make decisions based on someone else and not us loving ourselves. So that's what my organization is about. When they get that foot locker, that big foot locker that they got to roll. I hope this year they have them on wheels. But even if they don't have them, these are Seawood Mercury luggage foot
Wow.
lockers. And the kids come back and say, Miss Griffin, you know, I still got my foot locker because I've been doing this for 19 years.
Woo.
And
Okay.
I'm happy that I knew that I needed to do something else because you know you can sit in dark room and spaces and life can pass you by. You know, you thinking you're pursuing a dream, but the dream is bigger than you could ever think it is. And you can stifle the dream if you get caught up on what you have not accomplished instead of constantly knowing you need to accomplish. So that's what Better Love Yourself is about.
That's what's up. Yeah, I'm waiting for this book. I'm waiting for this book. That's phenomenal. I love that for you. I really, really, I'm not even, I'm not even exaggerating. Everything I've heard is just, it's like one long story where all the parts, all the chapters come together like a perfectly written novel. And this is just from a 57 minute conversation. You're dope. I'm loving you right now. Woo.
Oh, thank you so much. I prayed before we did the interview. I always want to be as open. You know, when you're a private person, you need to be open so others can learn
Right.
about who you are and maybe even about themselves. So I thank you so much for this.
Nah, you're more than welcome. How can people support or partner with BLY? And what are your goals for the program in the coming years? Better
This
luck.
year,
Whew.
well, people can always go on our website.
Okay.
They can donate there because there is a donate button. We are 501(c)(3), but they can also say, I want to be a mentor.
Ooh.
And you can look at what it is that you do as a business and say, this is what I do. And I will mentor, and my mentorship can, you can text with students, you can be there for them, you can call, you can say, hey, how's it going right now? I know you're going in photography, and how's that going? One lady, they're a photographer, they sent some kid a camera, and and he'll say, oh, Miss Griffin, these are the shots that I shot. And you really want to help them realize their dreams and know that there's someone out there who knows what they're trying to go through. So the mentorship is another thing they can do. They can partner with us as well. I've always said to them, hey, if you can't get to one of our cities, let's talk about how we can put a trunk together for the kids that can help, and we can facilitate that in a city where you are.
That's dope. I definitely appreciate that. That's phenomenal. And as far as supporting your music, how can people learn more about you? Where can they go to follow you? Whether it's TikTok, IG, Facebook, all the different social media outlets, your website. How can people follow you and get, grab? I need more music. First of all, every time you go into a verse, just from like speaking to singing, I just want to close my eyes and it's been a long time since I heard somebody sing that make me. I'm old school, so I'm like, if you can't sing, it make me want to close my eyes and it's like self-medicate on your voice, then you're not really singing. That's just me.
Oh, wow.
And you
Wow.
girl, woo. I'm sorry, I don't mean to call you girl. I'm just saying.
No, girl. We good. We good,
Woo.
bro. We good.
Woo.
I just want them to go to terisagriffin.com. I know it has an I in it, y'all. Terisa. That's my craziness. It's Terisa Griffin, Griffin, just like the Griffin. And I'm .com. If you go on Facebook, I'm Terisa Griffin. If you go to Instagram because somebody thought they was buying something, it's Terisa with an underscore then Griffin, because they can keep it. Terisa_Griffin. That's where I am. I am on TikTok. It's Terisa Griffin, but I don't TikTok a lot. All these TikTok, Snap the Cat, Track. I'm trying to keep up with them. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff to keep up with. Okay, but I do IG and Facebook a lot. I go live a lot. I go live at my shows. I put up other stuff from performing. So please follow me. If you get lost, just go to my website and you can always find all that other stuff there to go to.
Whew, man, thank you so much for this interview. I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
I think I needed it. I needed this today. It was one of them days, but boy, I'm like, I am all energized. Like, you know what? Bring it on. Let's get it. Let's go. If there are some fine points I'm gonna take out of this, purpose, being driven, and maintaining a balance and stay focused on the prize.
That's all we need to do.
Said, tonight, folks listening, this has been more than a conversation. We just witnessed the testimony. So thank you, Terisa Griffin. I'm about to follow you on Facebook and IG because you have a fan for life from this point on. Thank you so much for being here.
D.Moss, thank you for having me. This was one of the greatest interviews and joys that I've had and I've had some great interviews, but you were so prepared and you made me feel so at home. I feel like I'm sitting down talking to my brother. So thank you. God bless you.
That's that preacher. That's that PK Alliance. I'm here with you.
Yeah.
You have a wonderful day. Thank you.
You too. God bless you.
God bless you too. Woo. I can't even sign out now.
Tell Tan we had fun.
I'm gonna tell her. I'm gonna hang up and call her. Shoot, there we go. Take it easy.